Are you losing battles in silence, trapped by your emotions, your values, or the person you believe you must be? What if I told you your loyalty to yourself is the very thing that's destroying your power? Today, we are going to unlock the ruthless truth Machiavelli knew. To truly win in life, you must first betray yourself. You were taught to never betray yourself, to be authentic, to stay true to who you are, to remain loyal to your values, your emotions, your sense of identity. But here's the brutal truth. That version of you, the one you're clinging to, that version was built by fear, comfort, and the approval of others. The person you are today is not some divine truth. It is a product of your past conditioning. You were shaped by your family, your teachers, your culture, and your survival instincts. And now that identity, that mask you wear and call yourself, has become your prison. Machiavelli knew a man cannot step into power until he has killed the version of himself that was built for survival and rebuilt one designed for conquest. To betray yourself is not to fall from grace. It is to rise above your limitations. It is to look at the weak, emotional, passive version of yourself and say, you are not fit to lead. You are not the one who wins. This betrayal is not emotional. It is surgical. It is a clean break from the illusions that once served you but now sabotage you. Think, how many times have you hesitated? Not because the situation was wrong, but because you feared how it would make you feel. You feared guilt. You feared shame. You feared being someone you're not. But who told you who you are? What if who you are is not who you need to be? Machiavelli did not ask the prince to be honest. He did not urge him to cling to principle. He taught him to be effective. And effectiveness often requires the coldest kind of courage. The courage to shed your former skin like a snake, to break your emotional attachments, and to walk into the next version of yourself without mourning the last one. This is betrayal in the eyes of the weak. But in the eyes of the powerful, this is evolution. You must stop worshiping your feelings. Stop believing your instincts are sacred. They were designed to keep you safe, not strong. They were shaped in environments where power was not the goal, survival was. But you are not here to survive. You are here to dominate, to rise. That will never happen as long as you keep negotiating with your past self. You cannot carry the innocent, the soft, the sentimental part of you into the arena of power. He will get you killed. So you must betray him. You must betray the boy who avoids conflict. Betray the man who wants to be liked. Betray the dreamer who waits for permission. Because these parts of you were necessary once. But now they are liabilities. And when you hold on to something that no longer serves you, you are not being loyal, you are being weak. Self-betrayal is the moment you look into the mirror and say, you no longer lead. I do. You begin to operate with clarity. You see relationships not through emotion, but through leverage. You weigh decisions not by how they feel, but by what they will get you. This is the shift from internal chaos to internal command. This is the art of becoming what the moment requires, not what your story tells you to be. Because the man who always acts like himself is predictable. Predictability is vulnerability, and the world will feed on it. But the man who betrays himself, who kills the weak parts, who shapes his identity as a weapon, that man becomes dangerous, not because he is cruel, but because he is free. He is not bound to guilt, not bound to softness, not bound to the opinions of the person he used to be. He has betrayed that man, left him in the past, and built a new one from iron. He understands what others call betrayal. The wise call transformation, because you cannot hold on to both power and innocence. One must be sacrificed, and only one of them will win. You cling to your identity like it's your savior. You wear it proudly. This is who I am. You believe that being real somehow makes you powerful. That staying true to yourself will lead to respect, admiration, victory. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if your identity, this thing you defend so passionately, is the very reason you keep losing? Machiavelli understood what most never will. Identity is not sacred. It's a strategy. It can be molded, sharpened, disguised, and wielded like a weapon. Or it can be chained around your ankles, turning you into a predictable, emotional, easily manipulated slave to your own story. You see, the world is not designed to reward those who are authentic. It rewards those who are adaptable. Because when you're authentic, you're consistent. And when you're consistent, you become readable, predictable. And once people can read you, they can control you. Your identity becomes a cage. You're too proud to walk out. You say, that's just how I am. But what you really mean is, that's all I know how to be. It feels noble. It feels brave. But to the strategist, it's just weakness wearing armor made of sentiment. A man who fears changing himself is already owned, not by others, but by the idea of himself he refuses to betray. You don't even see how often your identity has been weaponized against you. You're told you're the nice one, so you hesitate to assert yourself. You're told you're the emotional one, so you break in high-pressure situations. You're told you're not the type for leadership, for confrontation, for ruthlessness. And because you've accepted that identity, you live under it like a law, not because it's true, but because you've never dared to redefine yourself. And that's exactly how power evades you. The most dangerous man is the one who treats identity like a mask, not a mirror. He decides what version of himself is required for the moment, and he puts it on without hesitation. In the eyes of the weak, that man is fake. But in the eyes of the powerful, that man is untouchable. Machiavelli knew this. He wrote that the prince must be both the fox and the lion. That to rule, one must be feared, admired, and above all, unpredictable. How can you be unpredictable if you're loyal to a single self? You can't. You become a puppet on strings you refuse to see. The need to be yourself is drilled into you from childhood, but no one told you what it costs. Every time you say, "That's not me," you're drawing a boundary, and every boundary limits your potential, limits your action, limits your power. You will not step into the battlefield of life wearing the same uniform you wore in the classroom of your past. You cannot win with the same personality that was trained to survive by pleasing others, by playing small, by avoiding confrontation. Your identity is not who you are. It's who you've allowed yourself to become. And the longer you keep calling it truth, the longer you remain stuck behind the walls of your own ego. But the Machiavellian man knows something else. He knows that identity is fluid. It can be burned, rebuilt, weaponized. He knows that he can walk into a room and become whoever the situation demands. Not because he's lost, but because he's free. He is not possessed by his past. He is not boxed in by what he was 5 years ago. He does not beg to be understood. He does not cling to labels or traits that no longer serve him, because he knows, if your enemy can guess what you'll do next, you've already lost. And the man who is always being himself is easy to predict, easy to play. But the man who has killed the need to be consistent, who shapes his identity like steel and fire, he is dangerous. Not because he is many things, but because he is never what you expect. He chooses when to be kind, when to be cruel, when to be silent, when to be loud, when to show love, when to show teeth. His identity is not fixed, it is forged, it is chosen. It is a tool sharpened by detachment and strategy, and it bends to his will, not the other way around. You want to win, you still feel too much. You're still asking yourself, what's right, instead of what works. Still worried about hurting feelings, still carrying the burden of guilt, shame, and empathy like a chain around your neck. And you wonder why life doesn't reward you. Machiavelli didn't hesitate to say what others feared to admit. That strategy dies the moment sentiment takes over. That when you feel too much, you lose the ability to think clearly. And when you can't think clearly, you hand your power to people who can. There is no cruelty in this, only clarity. Because strategy, at its core, is cold. It is mathematical. It deals in outcomes, not emotions. But most people, especially the good ones, can't stomach that. They believe that to be human, they must feel deeply. They believe that their compassion makes them strong, that their morals are what keep them grounded. But the ground is where weak men are buried. The powerful don't survive by being grounded. They survive by floating above the chaos, observing it without drowning in it. Every time you feel obligated to spare someone's feelings, every time you choose loyalty over logic, every time you hesitate to act because it might hurt someone's pride, you surrender your advantage. You step away from the throne and offer it to someone else. Why? Because you still think being kind is the same as being good. Because you still think playing fair is the path to respect. Because your heart still trembles at the idea of being feared or misunderstood. But strategy does not care about your heart. It is indifferent to your feelings, your attachments, your inner turmoil. And so is the world. You want to believe you can win without losing anything. You want to believe you can play this game without ever making a hard choice, stepping on toes, without cutting people off, without sacrificing your comfort. You can't. That's not how the game works. Machiavelli wrote for rulers, not romantics, and he knew that most people will never rule anything because they are ruled by themselves, ruled by guilt, ruled by hesitation, ruled by emotion, and the greatest tragedy, they call it virtue. They wear their emotional impulses like armor, as if kindness alone will protect them in a world built on hierarchy, leverage, and control. This world rewards one thing: results. It doesn't care why you failed. It doesn't care how noble your intentions were. It doesn't care if you meant well. It only cares if you played the game with precision. and precision requires detachment. This is not about becoming heartless. It's about becoming disciplined. It's about recognizing when your feelings are pulling you away from your objective, when your emotions are turning you into a pawn, when your sentiment is inviting exploitation. Because make no mistake, there are people watching. They're watching your kindness, your hesitation, your need to be seen as good, and they will use it. They'll test your boundaries by appealing to your empathy. They'll weaponize their emotions, knowing you won't resist. They'll extract from you everything they can, because you refuse to detach long enough to see it happening. You can't negotiate with manipulators while clinging to morals they don't share. You can't lead from a position of emotion while others play from a position of calculation. Machiavelli knew this. He advised the prince to appear merciful, but to act with ruthless efficiency. To use compassion as a tool, not a rule. To use emotion to control others, never to control himself. You think being nice is noble, but often it's a form of cowardice. You fear being seen as cruel, so you tolerate betrayal. You fear confrontation, so you let disrespect slide. You fear being feared, so you become forgettable. But respect doesn't grow in emotional soil. It grows in the shadow of strength. And strength is born from your ability to betray your emotions before they betray you. The moment you allow yourself to be governed by feelings, you forfeit strategy. And without strategy, you're playing a game where everyone else has already memorized the rules, while you're still trying to play fair. Power doesn't respond to your heart. It responds to your discipline, to your ability to observe chaos and act with precision, to your willingness to do what is necessary, even when it feels wrong. Because most of what feels wrong is only wrong to the version of you that was raised to lose, to obey, to submit. And the man who cannot rise above that voice will never rise above the people who control him through it. Control's what everyone wants, but almost no one understands. They chase it in relationships, in careers, in status, but they never see where true control begins, not with others, not with society, but within. And yet, that's where almost everyone fails. Because to gain control over yourself, you must first break your own loyalty, not to people, but to the version of yourself that keeps sabotaging your rise. The soft version, the reactive one, the one that needs comfort, validation, and understanding. That version of you cannot be negotiated with. It can only be removed. And that's why self-betrayal isn't a flaw. It's a step. A rite of passage for those who want to lead, not follow. You've been told to love yourself, accept yourself, honor who you are. But what if who you are is the reason you're stuck? What if the person in the mirror is not a reflection of strength, but of surrender? Machiavelli understood. You cannot rule others if you are still ruled by yourself. The self that seeks to be liked. The self that needs to be right. The self that trembles when it's challenged. That self must be dismantled, piece by piece, until only the essential remains. Because as long as you're bound by your emotional impulses, you are a puppet, and the strings are pulled by whoever knows how to trigger you. Control starts the moment you turn inward and see that you are not yet fit to lead anyone, until you've proven you can lead yourself. But leading yourself doesn't mean motivation. It doesn't mean positivity. It means domination. It means confronting your fears and silencing them. It means betraying your need to be understood. It means replacing instinct with strategy. There's a part of you that wants to be loved more than it wants to win. That wants peace more than progress. That wants safety more than sovereignty. That part of you will drag you back into mediocrity again and again, unless you betray it, not with hesitation, with precision, with finality. Because the longer you protect it, the longer it controls your choices. It decides how you speak, how you react, how you retreat from power when it's within reach. And you justify it by calling it who you are. But who you are was shaped by fear, by failure, by approval seeking. Wasn't designed for power. It was designed to avoid pain. Power demands a different blueprint, and that blueprint starts with internal war, not against others, against the voice inside you that says, "This is too much. Don't be cold. Don't be like them." But Machiavelli would ask, what has being not like them ever given you? Who have you conquered with kindness alone? Who respects the man who can't command himself? No one fears the emotional. No one follows the undisciplined. And no one respects the man who breaks for the sake of feeling whole. To become a force, you must separate feeling from function. You must betray the part of you that wants to be rescued, that wants to be told it's enough, that wants to be seen and accepted before it earns anything. Power doesn't grant that luxury. Power is earned through subtraction, subtracting weakness, excuses, hesitation, softness. You do not gain control by adding things. You gain control by removing what doesn't serve the mission. And often, what doesn't serve the mission is most of you. But this is where others break. They try to control the world before they've controlled themselves. They try to manipulate others without mastering their own instincts. They want dominance without discipline, so they fail over and over again, because they've skipped the first betrayal, the betrayal of comfort. Control requires discomfort. It requires you to sit in silence and not collapse, to be insulted and not react, to be doubted and not justify. And those who can't do that, they'll always be victims of their own emotions. They'll always be slaves to how they feel in the moment. Those who learn to betray that part of themselves, they become untouchable. They don't need to prove anything. They don't need to defend. They don't even need to feel right. They simply act with clarity, with authority, with precision, because they are no longer reacting to the world. They are controlling it, starting from the inside. So understand this. The path to power is not paved with loyalty to who you were. It is carved through the brutal decision to become who you must be. You were not born ready. You were born raw, emotional, reactive. That version of you cannot lead. It can only obey. To win, you must betray yourself. Not out of hatred, but out of necessity. Betray the soft instincts. Betray the emotional attachments. Betray the identity that keeps you predictable, small, and easily controlled. The man who evolves is the man who is willing to kill his former self, again and again, until the only thing left is what works, what rules, what wins. And when you master that betrayal, you no longer chase control, you become it.